Hey everyone, what is the crack? After 39 laps, 40 laps, I think about half of them were valid. I think I finally cracked this track. I joined earlier and was struggling a little bit. Then one of the guys, Saki, joined and shared his setup, and instantly I was like half a second faster. So made some slight tweaks to his setup. I just lowered the A or B one click front and rear. That's pretty much all I've done, and managed to do a 118. And absolutely delighted with myself. Drove the absolute socks off the car, and checked the live timings page, which you can see in front of me here. And I'm in P3, but the guys are like a second faster than me again, which is just completely nuts. There's no way I'm going to get anywhere near this time in race. Saki is the guy who gave me the setup, so thank you very much, Saki. And let's have a look at my lap. So the format, as usual, is a flying lap. I'm going to talk you through that as best I can. A lot happens here, as with a lot of other circuits. So I'm going to try and keep up with that. But if you missed that, don't worry about it. There are timestamps just below in the description, first line of the description, which will let you go to the step-by-step guide, where I'm going to go turn by turn, slow it down, fast forward, and really show you where my braking zones are and which corners are super, super important. So that's about that. When it comes to setup, I'm not going to do a section on setup. That's usually my fourth section. Usually my third section is racecraft, and this is going to be a tricky one for racecraft, because it's all about that line. It's a high downforce circuit, so it's really about just winning position and getting in front. But every time you overtake someone here, you're pretty much going to slow both of you down. It's just the nature of the track. I'll go into more detail on that in a second, but here's my flying lap, my 138. So probably went back a little bit too far here, but this is a really, really important corner. Down to third gear for the last corner and gun it up the straight. Now I've seen some people brake really, really late into turn one. There's a little road, and I'll pause it in a while in the next section. There's a little road, I use that as a marker. Brake in, I go second gear, catch a little bit of that curb, switch up to third, short shift to third. As soon as I see the sausage curb on the right, I know that I can start using that as an apex. Here I'm not really too sure. There are curbs on the right, well, it's kind of a little bit of a runoff. Just before that I brake. It's kind of done mainly on feeling, but we'll go into more detail on that as well. Here I stay slightly wide, catch this apex, brake in a straight line here as much as possible, embrace the understeer, go into third gear, power out of here, up into fifth gear, quick chicane, down into fourth gear, steady the car and stay on the curbs on the right, power out. Then at the 50 mark coming up, downshift 2 gears, turn in and coast a little bit, accelerate, and get that line out. If you can keep that line going, you're gold. I have to let off a little bit, back onto the start finish straight. I went a tiny little bit wide there, but there we go. That's a 118.8. You probably noticed some mistakes in that lap as well. But let's go into more detail on it now. So I'll show you exactly where I'm braking, where my track position is, and what I think is important. So some of you like to keep an eye on my speed here. I don't really pay much attention to it myself. So this little road on the right, so you've got the 150 mark. I was using the Pirelli sign. If you find the little road is too far ahead, the Pirelli sign is pretty good. You can see here my pedal inputs on the left. I brake just as I'm kind of on the middle of that road intersection. Brake really, really hard. Second gear, catch a tiny little bit of that curb, stay in close to the right here, short shift into third. And now this is the part where you can probably see I had a little hesitation at the throttle just here, because I'm waiting for that curb to come along. So I'm kind of on the edge of my grip, and you've got that red sausage curb on the right hand side. That's my apex. The end of that is where I want to get close to power out here. Now, this is the little runoff area that I was talking about on the right. It's not really runoff, it's like a fake curb. As soon as I kind of see that, I was using this bar over the top with the light bar, but it is slightly after that I go hard on the brakes, stay in tight. I've seen some people go wide and come back. I'm not sure what the best line is there. I find going in tight with a high aero setup gives me the best exit, because if you do go out wide and you carry a lot of speed through that corner, you're going to end up possibly being on this curb. As soon as you go on this curb, it's going to pull you off to the side. So be very, very careful of that. If you find that you're being pulled off to the side there, try taking this corner slightly slower and just staying close to that apex. Now this is an extremely important section of the track. You're going flat out. The temptation would be to go close to this runoff on the right. I would say stay out wide. There's a curb on the right. Stay out wide, and this is your apex. This is the one that you want to go for. And then your braking point is really when the nose of the car is pointed at the next corner. So not necessarily at this corner. When you point through the apex at the next corner, that's when you know you can brake in a straight line for the longest possible period of time. So hard on the brakes down into third. As soon as I'm into third, I kind of trail brake a little bit, ease off, and as soon as the car gets steady again, flat on the power. So I might just show that again. Straight here on the brake, third gear, let the car settle, and then catch that apex. So the apex is actually just before the red and white curb ends. Then flat out here, this is, there's a temptation here to cut. Don't cut on the right for sure, because you will be pulled off to the right. I wouldn't cut on the left either, just because it's unsportsmanlike. And then here, I only switch down to fourth to steady the car a little bit. If I stay in fifth, I'll carry too much speed, and I won't have scrubbed the speed to make this right-hander. Now this is a very important corner as well. I've tried this one braking at the 50, so you see I'm braking at the 50 here. I've tried switching down one gear, then coasting, switching down another gear. It is quicker, but it's more difficult to do. So if you switch down to 2 gears straight away, so make sure that you're already down to 2 gears before you come into this right hand apex. Get onto that right hand apex, steady the car, and make as nice a line out of the left hand side of that chicane as possible. And then here, when you do that, you tend to carry a lot of speed. You tend to get all the way up into 6th gear. I'm on the long gearing, of course, here. And you want to catch as much of that curb on the right as possible. I could have done better here. You can see me leaving off the throttle. I actually completely left off the throttle here. And I actually caught some of that gravel and still did a 118. So there's plenty of room for improvement. You can see even in this corner, I understeered quite a lot coming out here. I should really have been more pointed towards the straight at this point, but the front just wasn't biting for me. So maybe I overcooked it a little bit, but pretty decent lap, I think. So the next section, let's go into racecraft. I mean, it's really going to be a tough one, because you're going to rely on a lot of mistakes. Drive out of corners is very important. Drive out of this corner, and you want to get that left hand position here. If you can get to the left of someone, you can really kind of control the pace. You can go slowly, because once you are on the left, you obviously will have to brake a little bit earlier than you do here. But if a car is to go around your right, they'll want to be very, very quick. They might outbrake you. You can actually, with my setup anyway now, with the lower ARB, you can take a bit of that curb. So it all depends on your driving style. Here, people will go quite wide. You can sneak up the inside and force them to stay wide. There's a little bit of a straight here. This corner, I mean, I can see a lot of people going too wide here, and a lot of people being forced off to the side. Don't let yourself be the person that gets forced off to the right hand side. It's totally not worth it. Here as well, just fall in behind someone. If they're being overly aggressive or whatever, just don't even get involved, because you want to survive your race. If you are in front of a car, Same kind of applies. You have position. The wise thing for them to do is back off. So if you're confident enough, stay stuck in. But if they do stay stuck in, you're going to get punted off, and it's not going to be much fun. Again, this section of the track, you'd be completely mad to go too wide here, but I'm sure it will happen. If you do, you're going to slow each other down if you don't make contact. Regardless, you're going to just be going so slow. It's going to be a good draft on this straight. You can, even if you take the inside here, you can still make this corner quite nicely, but obviously the quickest line is what I'm showing here. And then here again, nobody's going to go too wide. People are going to hit that gravel, so be prepared to undertake them, I guess. And yeah, it's going to be a tough one for overtakes. So qualifying is going to be important. I would practice on your qualifying setup and practice being consistent on your race setup as well. And for me, usually the only difference is my fuel load for those. Setup wise, yeah, Saki was running similar aero to me. I don't know what else he's done to the car. It seems fairly default. I haven't analysed it in any detail. I just lowered the ARB at the front to 1 click, and at the back as well 1 click, and it gave me slightly better grip in the corners, so slightly less understeer, and it's slightly better on the curbs. So I was able to cut a half a second off his time for now. I mean, if hopefully it'll help him as well, and he'll get a decent time now as well. He's already P4, so he'll get an even better time. When he was doing his laps, I just couldn't believe how quick he was going, and his setup really helped me loads. So that's about it for this week's track guide. It's a really cool track in the heart of Germany, and we'll see how it goes on Tuesday night and Thursday night as well. DTM is going to be fun here. We're going to have to run pretty high aero, I think, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. That's about it. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy.